Hi, and welcome to Across the Desk. Well, something that goes under the radar quite a bit, and that would be our state auditor Cindy Byrd and our treasurer Todd Russ. They seem to be involved with a group that Cindy actually sits on the board of, a right-wing group of treasurers and auditors that have been in charge of the anti-ESG, get rid of BlackRock stuff, but now a group called Campaign for Accountability is asking the SEC to look into a pay-for-play scheme they have going on. So over the last couple of years, you've probably heard about BlackRock and ESG, which stands for Environmental Social Governing, and you've probably heard how Republicans, state auditors, treasurers have been divesting out of BlackRock to put into other groups because of the anti-ESG wave that they're on. Now, one of the things that's funny with this is they say, we're doing this because we want to get politics out of the investment, but yet they're putting their politics into the investments as far as conservative values go, whatever they seem to be. So here we go. We have this group. It's called the State Financial Officers Foundation, or SFOF for short. Now, what do? Well, they're a group of auditors and treasurers, all GOP. Now, they say they're nonpartisan, but there isn't a Democrat in the group. And what they do is they go after companies that may have liberal policies, publicly traded companies. And how they go after them is they take their pensions, public pensions that are invested in into these groups, into these stocks, and they divest out of them and put them into something else. So they can't force everybody to not invest in companies like BlackRock, but they can and do control the state pensions of state troopers and teachers and others as well that have their pensions through the state, including state workers, I suppose, too. So anyway, they divest out of this. Now, a group called Campaign for Accountability has sent a letter to the SEC, I believe on last Thursday, August 29th. And what the letter states is they would like an investigation because they see a pay-to-play scheme going on. What do we mean by this? We thought they were going after all of this ESG stuff out of principles, out of their conservatism and everything else. But it doesn't seem so. So maybe people like Cindy Byrd, who has been kind of a hero here to the liberals in Oklahoma, because you can't get a Democrat into power anyway because of all the gerrymandering and so forth. So because she's actually gone after some Republicans and stuff like that and tries to do her job, but she sits on the board of this SFOF. So she might have some questions to answer. Now, Todd Russ, he's kind of an icky person as it is. The guy doesn't have a whole lot of ethics. He's not into accountability. So you can kind of see him being into something icky as a pay-to-play scheme that Campaign for Accountability is accusing them of. And what are they doing exactly? What is this pay-to-play activity that they're doing? Well, they've looked into some of their financials. And one of the things is this group has stopped showing who their donors was as of 3 or 4 years ago. Mostly because it looks pretty icky when you look at it on the surface. Whenever you deep down into it deeply, it looks downright dirty. So what's going on is what they did was they divested out of BlackRock and they put it into another fund. So there's a place called Federated. So they took all this stuff and they went into Federated and put it into there. Well, lo and behold, Federated also has an ESG policy, Environmental Social Governance policy, trying to get away from fossil fuels and stuff like that. They also have one. So they took it out of BlackRock and put it into this other one, who, by the way, has less of a return for the retirees they're supposed to be managing this money for. Because BlackRock actually has a pretty decent return. I mean, we're talking near 10% return on their investments. They're actually doing pretty good. They're actually recommended as far as their projections go that, hey, yeah, this is a good thing to invest in. They're actually pretty decent. So these Republicans, out of their conservative principles, are divesting out of a company that's giving great returns and putting into another one that's not so great returns. But they don't have to care because the people that are affected are the pensioners, right? Because this lowers their monthly receipt that they get from dividends. So they're not getting as much. And goes into other things too. There's some lawsuits from other unions and places like that that are saying, hey, wait a minute, you're not looking out for us by doing this because we could be investing in BlackRock, who's giving near 10% returns, but because of your principles, we have to take less. It doesn't hurt the Republicans who are doing this, of course. It hurts the pensioners. So they really don't care. Of course, again, conservative values, that's what we have and that's what we're looking at. So the pay-to-play scheme, how does that happen? Well, it turns out that Federated is the top donor to SFOC, the State Financial Officers Federation. So here you go. They're the top donor. Wow, they get special privilege even though they have ESG policy with their investments and stuff. But they're getting favor because they actually donate to this group. Now, you would say, well, that's just one thing. That's just one place. That may not be so big, but when it comes down to another that's big is Visa and MasterCard, who as well has an ESG policy, as well as Wells Fargo and everything else that they've blacklisted too. So these Republican treasurers, the Republican auditors have also blacklisted places like Wells Fargo for their ESG stance. Well, you know, it's not so bad for Visa and MasterCard because, see, they're also top donors. Between the two, they give $75,000 a year to SFOF, the organization that Cindy Byrd sits on the board of. They give them that much, and they do it, they even say they do it, to get favorable treatment because, see, these people are scared of these conservatives that are doing this stuff. And why wouldn't you be? They are absolutely attacking people's money. They're attacking people's pensions to get their way. And the so cynical thing about it that I find is they say they're doing this to take a stance against liberalism. We want this politics out of investments. We want politics out of corporate America. So long as it's not liberal politics, I imagine, because as long as it's conservative ones, pro-conservative, anti-environmental, pro-oil and gas, pro-anything that would be a GOP stance, well, you're good with them. Which makes it sound like, well, that's political. That is absolutely politics. So that's the cynicism in all this. That's really the accuse them of what you're doing yourself, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're picking companies based on their politics, based on their alignment to conservative politics, and harming those that don't. And they're going after their money. That's a great way to do it. That's how you always do it in war or anything else. Go after their ability to do things. And money's a great way to do that. So they go after their money. That's exactly what they're doing here. And then you get this pay-to-play scheme where, hey, you donate to us, will be favorable to you. Of course, when asked about this, the members of the SFOF denied anything, that they're being lenient on any of their members or donors or anybody who gives them. But, you know, the proof is in the pudding. You got this federation, Federated, that's the name of it, Federated, that is a investment company. They do investments. And they have an ESG policy, but they get favorable treatment because they are the top donor. They donate the most money to this group, this GOP group, even though they say they're nonpartisan. It only has GOP people in it. There is not a Democrat in there anywhere. You won't find it. So this comes down to this pay-to-play scheme. Rolling Stone did a really good article on this. Hey, there's a pay-to-play scheme. Campaign for Accountability sends in the letter to the SEC saying, hey, they're doing a pay-to-play scheme here. That's what this is. They're taking it out on BlackRock, who doesn't donate to them, and giving it to somebody else that does donate to them with the same ESG policies. That's pay-to-play. And then you've got Visa and MasterCard coming out to say, yeah, you know, we don't want it to happen to us what they've done to Wells Fargo, what they've done to BlackRock. So yeah, we donate $75,000 to them a year in a pressure campaign because we don't want them to blacklist us either. And that's what we got going on. That's exactly what we have going on. And then, like I said, you got the lawsuits from unions and pensioners that work for states that were state-involved actors somewhere that worked for them, had a paycheck from the state, but now their pension's tied up with that, and these treasurers, these GOP treasurers, have pirated their money and holding it as a lever to these anti-ESG or positive ESG companies, telling them as long as you don't hold to our conservative values, you're not going to get these investments. And they have. The interesting thing is they've divested nearly $8 billion out of BlackRock. That's a lot of money to divest out of a company. But the thing is, the weird deal is, even with that, BlackRock still seems to be doing pretty good. There's a really solid investment. It's a really solid return. So it really hasn't hurt them too much, other than the fact that, yeah, you know, $8.5 billion could go a longer way with things like BlackRock. They could do more. But it really hasn't hurt them too bad. So this is more of a political thing, like the GOP is telling you it's not, than it really is. It absolutely is political. It absolutely is politics that they're playing here. And our treasurer, Todd Russ, and our state auditor, Cindy Byrd, are right in the thick of it. Yes, they absolutely are. So don't be fooled by Cindy Byrd. I get it. Hey, man, when she was going after these things, looking and doing audits on different state departments and everything else to see where the money went, and she's really into that, hey, man, more power to her. We're behind her all the way. Makes her seem like she's not too bad of a Republican or a conservative. But then you see this. She sits on the board of the State Financial Officers Foundation, and yet they're doing icky stuff like this, a pay-to-play scheme, pay-to-play, so that they don't blacklist you. That's intimidation. That's exactly what that is. It's using the power of the state to go after companies. This is big government. I don't see how it isn't big government. It's exactly what we're seeing here. Big government with its anti-ESG campaign brought on by treasurers and auditors, GOP ones, who put together this foundation to go after investments and investment companies in the billions of dollars. That's scary to a lot of people. Obviously to Visa and MasterCard. Obviously to Federated, who donates the most money. Obviously to them, and they are getting a benefit out of this. One, they're not being blacklisted. Two, Federated is getting all the money that they were going to give BlackRock, who, by the way, like I said, Federated has an ESG policy. So that's what we have going on right now. The big news this week. It's not all Ryan Walters. Of course, he's done some stuff too. And, you know, we had that hoopla at Arlington National Cemetery with Donald Trump breaking federal law by having people take pictures. His campaign staff take pictures. And people using it like the Utah governor, using it in campaign material and having to backtrack and make an apology for it. But here we go. Pay-to-play scheme. Our state auditor and our state treasurer, absolutely, Todd Russ, one of the ickiest guys in our state government, besides Ryan Walters, is involved in all of this. And I just thought I'd let you guys be informed of it, since you won't hear it anywhere else. This is Across the Desk. And as always, we'll see you next week.